Where did you get that scarf from?
My friend Dan made this with acrylic yarn, and I like it because I quite like colour scheme. The colour scheme is quite muted, but the style is quite sort of dramatic. It's quite sort of Doctor Who, isn't it? What's his name? Was it Peter Davison who had the scarf?
Tom Baker.
Tom Baker. Okay. Was it Lance Armstrong?
You want to be careful because Michelle will have another word with you.
Well, listen, you can. I feel very attacked.
You can lead a whore to culture, but you can't make her think. Anyway,
Right,
welcome
Dorothy
to another
Parker.
episode. Welcome to another episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong, a podcast where two exes who still know each other talk about pop culture, moon landings, Tom Baker, Lance Armstrong, and Sheryl Crow, amongst other things. My name is Sean, and that's Josh. How are you, Josh?
Hi, Sean. Well, as you might be able to hear, I have a cold, which is why I'm wearing my very dramatic scarf. Apart from that, I'm okay. It sucks to be getting a cold in springtime. It sucks to get a cold at any time of the year, I guess, but particularly in springtime. But apart from that, I'm fine. Welcome back, everyone, and especially to our new subscribers. Thank you for joining us here. And if you are not already subscribed, please do subscribe wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast. But yeah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really tired because last night, jumping straight into our first topic, last night I stayed up watching the Moon Expedition re-entry and splashdown. Did you watch any of it?
No, I've not watched an iota.
Is it not of interest to you, or?
Yes, somewhat, but I've been busy. I've been working for the last 3 days, and I've got to work tomorrow, and I don't have a TV. So I don't watch live TV. I don't watch terrestrial TV, which I suppose is a very apt word to use. I don't watch extraterrestrial TV either.
Well, I was watching extraterrestrial TV because this was being live streamed from the capsule, or whatever they refer to it as. Is it a spaceship? Would you call it a spaceship?
The re-entry capsule.
Yeah, the module.
Oh yeah, that was my nickname at school, Lunar Module. So excuse me, I'm sorry about the start. I'm just having a lemsip, and I know it's a bit noisy. So
another drink, Sue.
It's just I'd rather be drinking
it
wine
makes
or
a change
port.
from the brandy or the port or whatever it is.
This is
normally
lemsip's
guzzling.
disgusting, and I've run out. I know I've gone off topic, but I've run out of the black currant flavored one. I'm having to drink the lemon ones, and I absolutely loathe them. Anyway.
What's the one in Australia called? That's like we have Lemsip in the UK. Is it Lemsip in Australia, or is it a different brand? The main brand?
I don't know. I know in the States and in Mexico it's Theraflu.
Oh,
is
okay.
The equivalent, but I don't remember in Australia. Maybe Michelle can let us know.
Yeah. So anyway, I was watching the Moon mission re-entry. It was so fascinating, and they had live video feed from the outside of the capsule as it was heading back towards Earth. And so I watched a few hours of the live stream, and the Earth kept getting closer and closer and closer. And then, they had the voiceover or the radio talk chatter between NASA, Houston, and the astronauts who were in the capsule. They're talking about all of the things they have to do to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. They have to check their suits for leaks. They have to check all the equipment. Anyway, when they came back through the atmosphere, they had to break off from one part of the spaceship, and that burnt off. But when they re-entered, they were traveling something like 40,000 kilometers an hour through the atmosphere, and they were going so fast that it built up some sort of some sort of coating on the outside of the capsule for 6 minutes. And so no radio signals could go in or out of the capsule for those 6 minutes until that buildup burnt off again. And then they, reconnected with them. And it was just very, I found it quite emotional. But I'm a very emotional person. I mean, I cried before watching a YouTube video of Bruce Springsteen singing Purple Rain in Minneapolis. Like I can get emotional at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I mean, I know judgment from me. I cry at little videos of like rescued dogs and stuff on Instagram and all sorts. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So anyway, when as the capsule was falling into the atmosphere, it released or deployed, I think is the technical word, deployed some parachutes. And I was like looking at these parachutes thinking, that's not enough, like these tiny, minuscule parachutes. And then they detached, and then more parachutes came out. And I think they went through about 12 chutes or parachutes, and they got bigger.
it's
Um,
it's an incredibly wasteful endeavor, isn't it? The amount of material, the amount of
yeah,
rocket fuel. Like I'm not anti-space exploration per se, but I don't know. I really struggle to reconcile that with all of the fucking awful things that are going on the planet, and many of them driven by fighting for resources or for money. And
yeah.
yeah, it's a. I mean, I suppose it's escapism, both literally and figuratively, isn't it?
I mean, there
Um,
must be some justification by people in power of why this is happening that's other than just because we can do it. There
well,
must be some scientific endeavor for it.
well, no, I was just gonna say I think it's purely capitalist-driven endeavor because people are trying to colonize space. They're trying to colonize the moon and then perhaps some of the other planets in our solar system in future generations. And I think it's driven purely by that they want to be there first. They want to stake their claim. I don't think there's necessarily. I mean, I think people within NASA, for example, or whatever NASA's equivalents are around the world, I think there are people who genuinely have a fascination and they have a
Yeah.
scientific interest in space travel and in other planets and moons. But I think the funding for it is driven purely from a capitalist, resource-based rationale. That's
And
my cynical view.
so anyway, it splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, like however far off the coast of San Diego. It splashed down at exactly the time, like the minute past the hour that they predicted before it even left Earth. They knew they'd done the calculations, and I find that very impressive
Yeah,
that they
it
were
is
able to
amazing.
calculate exactly to the minute of when it was going to splash down. And then these boats came out and they took them out of the capsule, and uh, I
How
found that
how far off
moving.
the Californian coast was it?
Not super far, but far enough that I don't think there was a risk of them hitting
And
the land.
did they calculate the location exactly as well? Like that's
They were
that's
very
fascinating to
close.
me.
Like the boats that were there to pick them up were very, very close to
That's
um, the
that's very
location.
very impressive, isn't it? That the I don't know, the data, the science, the technology exists to the expertise exists to be able to calculate that so
Well, you
precisely.
think they did this sort of thing over 50 years ago with all of the trips to the moon,
Mm,
where they had to scoop people out of the water again after they got back, and they were able to do it then, but with far less um, tech. What do you call it? Like computing power. So
mm,
you think now how much more powerful computers are and the modeling and everything, mathematical modeling that they would be able to do now, that
mm,
used to have to be done by human brain. So with the Apollo missions, they had something like 10,000 engineers and scientists and mathematicians working on those. And
mm.
now it's probably a couple of hundred people
Yeah,
plus lots of computers. So it
yeah.
has changed a lot. But what was funny, like, because I was watching some sort of CNN, I don't know, live stream, and they had all the comments coming up on next to it. So many comments from people saying, "This is fake, never gone to the moon. This is all being filmed in a Hollywood studio." Like, I can't believe that there is such a sizable amount of people on the planet that think this is fake.
I can. Like I think there's such a distrust of establishment these days that
Yeah.
it's quite easy to see why people would not believe it. And I mean, there's I'm not saying I believe it's fake. I believe it happened, but there's if you were going to concoct a conspiracy theory, there are many, many reasons why governments, especially the US government at the moment, would want to create a distraction and diversion from other things that are happening. Um, so
But, like,
all the ingredients are there, aren't they, for a good conspiracy theory?
and then you've at the same time, you've got this huge ongoing, I mean, it's something that's always been around, but it's really ramped up in the last few years, this UFO truthers. And yesterday I saw some videos from, do you know who Casey Musgraves is?
She has an Australian singer.
No, 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 no. She's from the US, and she's
I'm
like a
thinking of
country
Casey Chambers.
Casey Chambers, yeah,
Yeah,
the
so Casey Musgrave.
cousin of Lance Armstrong. Um, but she's like a country pop singer. She's quite big,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
No, I do know her. Yeah.
yeah, there's videos where she's talking about how her private plane or her plane was being followed by UFOs, and she's filming these lights and these orbs outside the window. It's a series of videos that go on, intercut with like supposed video footage of these orbs, and then it is so hilarious to me that even people who are that, like, high profile will go out in public and say, 100%, "What are these UFOs following my plane?"
Well,
All of these people.
I believe there are US, well, they're not. What are they called? They're not called UFOs anymore. They're UAPs, right? Unexplained aerial phenomena. Is that the correct terminology that people use now?
I don't
UFOs been
know.
sort of superseded by UAPs, I think. Yeah, unexplained
I don't
aerial
know.
phenomena. And I
Right.
believe that many, many people have experienced unexplained aerial phenomena. I'm not saying that they were extraterrestrial in origin, but I do believe like there is so much sort of compelling evidence that multiple people have experienced these things at the same time in the same location. Um, and
Well,
I
yeah.
no,
I don't know. You know, these, like, how we were talking the other week about the amount of stuff that's flying around the Earth and in the lower atmosphere, the outer atmosphere, in orbit, thousands and thousands of satellites, old satellites, bits of broken space junk. People were responding to Casey Musgraves saying, "Hey, you know what you saw is like Starlink satellites or whatever. When they're at a certain, um, what do you call it, altitude,
altitude,
and
yeah.
a certain level, they reflect the sun that you could even be in darkness, but they're
Mm,
up so high they're catching light rays,
mm,
and they're saying they look like they're traveling faster than you because they are. They're satellites. They're in orbit, and there's multiple ones of them coming in and out of that ray of light that's up there. And so there are lots of, like, the Elon Musk Starlink satellites
yeah.
and flares.
The space, yeah.
There's there are so many
SpaceX
of them
stuff.
that's why they think that these incidences of UFO sightings or UAP sightings are increasing, is because the number of satellites, human-made satellites being launched into our atmosphere
Mm,
is, like, exponentially growing, like, year on year. It's so many that people are seeing all of these lights and things now
mm,
because they're either burning up and re-entering or they're catching the sunlight at a certain altitude.
mm.
So that's, like, people were trying to set her straight
Um,
in these comments.
I mean, I know people. I'm not going to name them on the podcast, but I know people
Say
who
their
have
names.
seen things from airplanes. And I mean, I saw, when was this? This was a couple of years ago. I was in Malibu at our friend Lynn's place, and I saw something in the sky, which I later found out. It took a few hours for me to actually figure it out, but I later found out was a SpaceX launch. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, it's incredible when you see something that doesn't match any known explanation that you have already in your brain. It's incredible, and it's very hard to think that it's not something extraordinary. But yeah, mine was just a SpaceX launch. But for a few hours, I was convinced it was. I didn't think it was a UAP. Well, it was a UAP. I didn't think it was a UFO. I didn't think it was alien. I thought it was a missile or something like that. But um,
And then there's this current conspiracy going on where a number of people who work for NASA or are related to NASA in some way professionally have been disappearing or dying. And I think it's yesterday or 2 days ago, there was another scientist, NASA scientist in the news who has disappeared, and it's up to 9 people. And so there's, of course, conspiracy theories are going
But have
wild that
these
these
have these claims been substantiated by
yeah, well, these people are really either dead or missing. Yeah,
really?
like,
Oh,
that's
wow.
true.
That's
And they do
fascinating.
yeah, and but the problem is, and this is going back to another one of our topics, when I try and search for information. That's a nice sound, by the way.
Sorry,
When
I
I
know.
when I try and search for information about these NASA people, now this is in the New York Times, CNN, people are reporting it, saying this is a strange phenomenon and people don't know what's happening. Like some people have unalived themselves, some people are still missing, some people have been murdered. Um,
But
but what
has
I've
anyone got a theory as to who's
well,
doing this
the
or
theory the one of the wacky theories is that these people found out about aliens, and either the government or people in power are silencing them, or the aliens are coming down to silence them so nobody finds
Oh,
out about
right.
them.
Okay, it's a
But
Martian conspiracy.
it is a Martian conspiracy. But one of the problems with trying to find out information about things like Casey Chambers or UFOs or NASA disappearances, when I search and I search, say, like CNN or a semi reputable news site, now I've noticed when I go onto their websites, it gives me an AI generated story.
Mm,
So, do you know there's that thing called Claude, or
yeah.
it's kind of like ChatGPT? So it'll
Mm,
say this story or this article has been powered or collated by Claude or whatever other model they're using, large
mm,
text language model. So it's collated information from the internet. They've it could be rumors, it could be from Reddit, it could be from wherever. So, but because it's on a news website in inverted commas, I'm reading it like it's news. But
mm,
a lot of it is just what's out online, like rumors. So
yeah.
anyway, it's really hard to get information that's
Yeah.
researched or reviewed, or
Well, there was
it's just really
even
tough.
before the proliferation of AI, there was so much information out there on the internet that was sort of unregulated, unsubstantiated, and now that has just increased sort of a thousandfold with
Oh
the
yeah.
proliferation of AI. There's just so much shit content. There's absolute AI slop out there.
Well,
Um,
just to if do you ever listen to the podcast called Pod Save the UK?
no,
Okay, so Pod Save the UK in the one of the latest episodes, they talk to Jamie Bartlett, and the episode is called "Can AI Really Be Your Friend?" It's very interesting. He talks about how unreliable AI can be and what uses actually it is suitable for, but
mm.
saying just how unreliable and untrustworthy it is as a source, because it just
Oh,
is it just
completely.
scrapes nonsense and serves it to you like it's a fact. And it
Yeah.
does it in a way that it tries to appeal to your humanity or your ego
Well,
or whatever it is.
or your expected response. It tries to adjusts itself according to what it thinks your expectations are.
Yeah.
It's not an impartial, factual source at all. Um,
Well, something that is factual that just happened this week. Did you hear about there was another by-election in the UK? Did you read about this?
no, I've been living under a rock, as you can clearly
Okay.
tell.
Okay. Well,
I
it's
have
a
been
good thing
keeping
that
up with
we
some current events, but just not the ones you're bringing up.
but it's a good thing that we do this podcast because it keeps you informed. If anything else, it's like your outreach to the outside world, Sue.
Hmm.
Um, there's a place called Cliftonville, which is like a electoral region in Kent. It's in Kent County, and the guy who was I suppose, is he a councillor? Is that what he's called? He was Reform. He was voted in a while ago, but he was dropped from Reformed when he was arrested and charged with coercive and controlling behavior to his wife. And so he then was sentenced to 12 months in prison. So they had to call a by-election because, as we know, in the UK, if somebody can't fulfill their elected official capacity, they have to call a by-election if it's
Hmm.
outside of normal election time. And so this guy had won a huge, as a reform candidate, he had won a huge percentage of the vote back in 2025, I think. His name is Daniel Taylor from Margate. But now the Greens came back and won this. Rob Yates won 38.8% of the vote. Reform came in second. The Labor Party came in fourth with just 10% of the vote. And
Wow.
this is just, once again, this is just like a little microcosm of local politics. So it might not be that important. But I wanted to ask you, there are big elections coming up all around the UK in May.
Hmm.
Local council elections, and
Hmm.
they're happening on Thursday, the 7th of May. There's actually in your area, you're going to have to vote in
Yeah,
Hounslow
yeah, I've got my
on the
polling
7th of
card
May.
already.
There's not an election in my area in the City of London for some reason, but it's happening in like thousands of council seats around the
Hmm.
UK. What do you think the trend is going to be? Do you think that there is going to be a massive swing to the Greens in these
Oh
local
yeah, like
elections?
without a doubt, honestly, because people are much more willing to take a risk in local elections than they are necessarily in the general elections. And even though the political system in this country, we don't actually vote for the prime minister, we vote for our local MP. Um, on the local elections, when you're just voting for councillors and things like that, um,
Yeah,
I would say the majority of people I know are going to vote for Green, and 90% of them will be voting Green for the first time ever. And there is going to be a huge swing for the Greens. Whether that would happen if a general election was called, I don't know. But it will certainly send a really strong message to Labour and to Reform as well, I think, that the Greens have been underestimated and that there is that they're a serious contender. The media as well. The media have not covered the Greens with fair representation in this country,
yeah.
and so it
And do
really
you
will put
think,
them.
yeah, well, do you think that there's an element of protest vote? Um, there's kickback from Labour's support or unwillingness to speak up against what Israel's doing. Not really. Keir Starmer has been criticised a lot for not standing up hardline enough against Israel and the USA with what's happening in Iran, and the knock-on effect that's having for people's fuel and energy prices, as well as all of the deaths that are happening in the Middle East. Do you think, even though this is local elections and they're not really connected to that level of policy making, do you think this might be a way people feel that they can, like, have a little bit of like voice to say, hey, we're not happy with what your party's doing?
Definitely, definitely. And the other thing which can't be underestimated as well is how Reform have grown. The Reform Party in the UK has grown so much in recent years, and people are terrified at the prospect of Reform being in power. And so they see the Greens as the only viable opposition to Reform. Labour would think of themselves as uh, completely opposed to reform, but they're not hardline enough against reform and the rhetoric that reform spouts. So the Greens are the
I,
only viable alternative.
I get a bit annoyed. I've been listening to the news agents a lot since you
Mm.
put me onto it. And I
Hmm.
listen to other things like what the fuck is going on with Mark Steele and even like Pod Save the UK. I find even these people who are more on the left, they seem quite apologetic to Labour. And I'm
Yeah, oh
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
they,
noticed that on the news agents too. Like they almost defend Labour and defend Keir Starmer, and sometimes
yeah,
it's um, legitimate. Like
yeah.
I don't think Keir Starmer's doing a great job, but I do think he did sort of stand up to Trump to some extent and stand his ground in terms of Trump wanting the UK to send troops to or to send
But
support to the Strait of Hormuz and
but now
stuff.
they're
But
talking about doing that. Now they're talking about
they
getting
are, yeah,
involved more.
they are now
Uh,
because of a strike on a British airbase. Anyway, but yeah, I think
But
that
also, there are US Air Force bases all around the UK that are constantly in use. There are some within
yes,
an hour or two of London.
mm.
Some of them have nuclear weapons on them, like based at them, that they
Do
could be
they?
deployed from there. Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
100% sure
fair,
about that?
100% sure. Not to be launched from there, but that can be loaded into airplanes and taken from there. Read about it. I think it's
Wow.
Fairford, the one that's closest. And there are people every day being arrested out there who are protesting. There are anti-war and anti-imperialism activists who are going out to Fairford every day, and they've stopped putting it on the news, of course, because the news is so um, biased. But if you have a look, there is video of people being arrested every day out at these US Air Force
Wow. Yeah, I
bases,
didn't know that. That's
and
yeah, that's
and
horrific.
some of these planes that have been involved in bombing, like things in Iran, had been taking off from the UK. So people have just had enough. And so when people like the newsagents or other political commentators who are like, "Oh, we've got to take a measured approach to this." What measured approach can you take to like mass destruction and genocide? What measured approach can you take about the cost of living spiraling? What measured approach can you take to decades and decades of austerity and people, the quality of life falling apart, energy prices going up? I
Well,
think
okay,
people are turning to green or reform just out of desperation.
okay, but so tell me then, what approach can we take? I wish I
Like
had the answers,
not
but I don't. But what
not
can we do?
measured. Yeah, not a measured approach of, oh, let's vote for the lesser of two evils. Let's do something radical. Let's do something more in line
Like
with a
what? Like
cultural and
what?
political revolution, like voting the complete sweep of the board, get rid
Yeah,
of the
but what would the
Tories and
Greens
Labour
what would the Greens
completely.
do? Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not having a go. I'm not saying I disagree,
Well,
but
just
it's
well,
one
just
thing to sit here and say we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. We have a revolution and stuff, and I'm all for that in a way. But at the same time,
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but what would that actually look like? And also, as much as I'm opposed to like militarism and the glorification of war, what do we do when our existence is threatened by foreign powers like Russia, or like the actions of the USA and Israel? Like, what should our response be, or what could our response be?
Well, to start with, I think change is possible, and it doesn't have to be everything all at once. Like, look what's happened in New York, and I know that's just a city, but it's a very large city. And Mandami has gone in there and is making sizable changes straight away with like the cost of transportation, fixing public infrastructure like potholes, childcare. Increases to childcare allowances and childcare spaces, and promises about changes to rent and properties. What are you laughing at?
Just now, I saw a news article today, and just when you said potholes, and it made me chuckle because it was such a sort of a microcosm of how fucking stupid humanity is. And it was saying that
Yeah,
potholes are so bad in the UK right now, on our roads, and it's the problem is not caused by, but it's hugely exacerbated by the massive increase in SUVs and four-wheel drive large vehicles on our
yeah,
streets. And then they quoted a sort of a survey. I don't know if it Ipsos Mori, or I can't remember who had done the survey, but it was like a legitimate survey company, and they'd asked drivers or owners of these huge four-wheel drive SUV vehicles what made them buy that as opposed to a smaller car. And one of the top answers was that there were so many potholes on the roads. And I just thought, God, that's such a
yeah,
great encapsulation of how fucking stupid and
yeah.
fucked we are as a species, that we, the one thing that the one thing that we are trying to overcome our actions are causing in our efforts to overcome it, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
fucked.
Well,
Basically, that's my conclusion.
I think there are some basic things that could happen around healthcare, scaling back spending on military. Don't publicly speaking out against genocidal. Oh, you're
Sorry,
right there.
sorry. I'll edit that out.
um, not supporting, like publicly speaking out against genocidal forces and countries and states, like that things that this government here in the UK are just not doing, and they're not doing to a level that is needed. I mean, look at how Spain and was it Italy have withdrawn their ambassadors to Israel, and Spain has completely disallowed any of these warplanes involved in what's going on to fly over their airspace. Like they've
Yeah.
really stood up to it, and the president of Spain has come out and said, "Absolutely, this is unacceptable."
Yeah. And, before when I was saying to you, what can we do? What can we do? What should we do? One of the things which I'm pleased somebody is talking about is ending all arms, not arms, sorry, trade agreements with Israel. And
Yes.
it's outrageous what Israel are doing. It is absolutely just off the charts horrific and damaging to
Yeah.
humanity. And there is every reason under the sun for us to no longer support the Israeli state. And that is not on the table for Labour or the Tories.
No,
Or I
and
don't
that's
even
what needs
know.
to change.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's one simple thing that could change. But like I
Yeah.
said in last week's episode, or was it the week before, that our dependence on fossil fuels is so avoidable and should have been legislated
Yeah.
against decades ago, and it wasn't. And
Yeah.
now we're in this awful situation. And yeah, I mean, there are so many avoidable
Yeah.
conflicts and deaths in the world.
Well, just pivoting slightly, but it's somewhat related to to Israel, and that's Kanye West and his being
That that's
banned
one
from
that's
entering the
one
UK.
current event that I have been keeping abreast of. That he
So
was
as we know,
scheduled to perform at the Wireless Festival here in London this summer. Sorry, this summer, and Kanye West was booked to perform, and tickets went on sale. And if you're not familiar with Kanye West, he has been so incredibly problematic, increasingly problematic over the last 5 to 10 years. And there was a huge public outcry, and eventually the Home Office, I think it is, denied his visa to come to the UK to perform, and the Wireless Festival had to cancel the festival and refund people who had bought tickets. Do you want
yeah, well,
to explain some of the controversy around him?
yeah, of course. I mean, one of the reasons they cancelled was once again not to do the right thing, but because big sponsors like Pepsi and somebody else withdrew sponsorship in light of them associating with Kanye West. One thing I will say about the UK government withdrawing or denying his visa is why is it that their business to get involved in that, but they won't stand up against Israel, which is actually murdering people every day, and they're not doing enough to denounce that, but they'll denounce somebody like Kanye West. I'm not saying Kanye West is in the right or the wrong, whatever, but they're not.
Uh,
Keir
I
Starmer isn't
I
doing
could quite
enough.
confidently say Kanye West is in the wrong, but yeah.
No, what I'm saying is yes, he's in the wrong, but what I'm saying is it's not about that right in this second. What I'm saying, it's astounding to me that Keir Starmer will take time to go on the news and make a statement about Kanye West, but he won't go on
Oh,
the
right,
news and
yeah.
make a statement
And
about,
could condemn the actions of
regardless of
Israel,
what's
yeah.
going on, what's ever going on with Kanye, right or wrong, whatever, right? But the history of I've got some notes here of Kanye West and his problematic behavior. Let's zoom
Mhm.
through it a few in October 2022. He said he was going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, and they got him removed from X, which was Twitter at the time. He, in 2022 interview with Alex Jones of InfoWars, he was praising Hitler and the Nazis. West stated that he could see the good things about Hitler and said, I love Jewish people, but I also love Nazis. He had a swastika merchandise, like he had a T-shirt with a swastika on it, and he had a song called Hail Hitler in May 2025. So we're not going back that far anymore. And the swastika was on merchandise. And obviously that's a symbol that's banned in many countries and seen as a form of hate speech, and obviously it's banned in Germany. He refused to apologize for a long time following the initial comments that he made. He also talked about slavery being a choice,
Oh yeah, that's
talking
bad.
about all through the Black Lives Matter stuff. He got into an altercation with one of the presenters on TMZ.
Didn't he like criticize Harriet Tubman? Something like
Yeah.
what was it he said about her?
He said, never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people. He talked about George Floyd, who was
Yeah.
murdered.
Can I just interject and say, like,
yeah.
I just
Mhm.
want to say that all of these things are outrageous, of course, but
Yes.
I think
And it
not.
goes on and on, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's just it's a long list, but I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. Clearly, the man is not well. Like, he's really not well, and his actions over the last, however long he's been in the public eye, have confirmed that over and over and over again, that this man's really, really not well. He's it's really hard not to use derogatory terms, like unhinged, and as much as I have compassion for people who have mental health issues, when you're in the public
Yeah.
eye, it's very hard not to be appalled and critique them for espousing these awful, awful things, hateful things. But the man's not well, and as much as he should be held to account and is responsible for the things he's said and done over the last decade or so, we also, I think, need to look at society, like record companies, sponsors, corporate sponsors, social media platforms, who should have deplatformed him so long ago that he wouldn't have been able to spout all this fucking awful, hateful rhetoric. But yeah, that doesn't get him off the hook. Like, what he said is awful. And I don't know if I
And
think I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but like, my father's family was German, Polish, Jewish refugees from the Second World War. Like, my grandma and my granddad, they fled Berlin. They moved to Prague when my aunt was born in hiding. And then when the Nazis invaded what was then Czechoslovakia, they managed to get visas to go to move to Scotland, and that's why I'm here in the UK. So it's a very personal thing to me, and I, of course, absolutely condemn the Nazi Party and the actions of Hitler. Like, it shouldn't have to even be stated. And even if you don't have that family history, it doesn't need to, it's irrelevant in some ways. Like, the actions of the Nazis and Adolf Hitler were fucking horrific.
yeah.
And so when someone like Kanye
But
is like, yeah, go on.
no, I was just going to say, Kanye also has aligned himself, like in 2020, he aligned himself a lot with Trump. Do you remember when he was like taking meetings with Trump and supporting Trump?
Didn't he
And then
show
do you
up
remember
in
he also
the?
tried to run for?
Didn't he show up in the Oval
What's
Office at
that?
one point?
Yeah, and then he tried to run for president himself. Do you remember? He was going to run for president.
Yeah.
But
He's
a
not
lot
well.
of
He's
a
not
lot of
well.
this, no, and a lot of the responsibility. I won't. You try not to use the word blame, but all of these people that bought tickets to Wireless because he was going to headline, they need to be held accountable.
Oh,
You know, like, who are
100%,
these people
100%.
going to buy these tickets? More than, I think, even more than Kanye. Like, I think these people who platform and champion and buy tickets and records and merchandise or whatever,
Hmm.
like, they need to be like, what people want to cancel Kanye. How about canceling and ostracizing or holding accountable these people that are making it possible for him to
Yeah,
live this lifestyle and live like this? It's
completely.
too much. But also, one other thing, do you remember when he had White Lives Matter? Like, he was selling T-shirts that said White
Oh
Lives
yeah,
Matter?
yeah.
But yeah, all of that. I mean, it's too much, and he's done a lot of sexist stuff, like what he did to Taylor Swift, like grabbing the microphone off her, um, putting nude replicas of famous women naked in
Also,
his music video.
yeah, but also, I'm really curious as to why, because all of this is public knowledge. What made
Yes,
the Wireless Festival organizers think that it was acceptable, socially and politically acceptable, to invite Kanye to perform in the first place? I'm really concerned that um, the actions of Israel are fueling such a strong anti-Semitic rhetoric in modern society that things like this happen. Because if
yeah.
Israel hadn't done any of the things it has done in the last 4 years, um, I
Well,
don't
try the
think.
last 77
Well,
years.
yeah, fair enough. But let's say since October 7th, um, I don't think the Wireless Festival organizers would have thought, oh, let's invite Kanye, given all that he's said and done, particularly in the last 12 months. And as much as I condemn the actions of Israel, I am also equally concerned about the rise of anti-Semitic um, rhetoric and the conflation of Israel and Judaism, and the the
Yeah.
inability of some people to see the two as completely separate. And I'm really, really concerns me. But I'm appalled that the
I
Wireless Festival organizers should be absolutely fucking. I mean, they should have a you know a lawsuit taken out against them for their actions. I mean, it's fucked up.
I agree with you what you're saying about Israel, but I think there's a bigger component to this that's powering the platforming of people like Kanye, and I think that's Donald Trump and MAGA politics. I think that we've gone
Mm,
through the looking glass of people being held responsible or accountable for anything, and you can actually be somebody who sexually assaults people, can threaten genocide against the whole. Like, Trump said the other day he was going to wipe out an entire civilization.
hmm.
You can say the most unhinged things multiple times a day, sometimes multiple times within 5 minutes. You can have been charged with, like, be an actual felon. You can have, be found culpable for rape, and you can still be the president of the United States. How is anybody going to be held accountable for anything if the most powerful person on earth is that person? Nothing
Mm,
matters anymore. And do you know
no,
what? Like, if Keir Starmer is going to stop Kanye West from coming into this country, why wouldn't he stop Donald Trump from coming into this country? I
yeah,
think Donald Trump has done more harm to the world than Kanye West has, and
hmm,
has said as equally as egregious things and has hurt more people personally and more broadly than Kanye West has. So the hypocrisy of it, yes, I think Kanye West should be held accountable and everyone involved should be, but the hypocrisy of not standing up to Trump or not standing up to Israel, or, it just, this is why we need this revolution, a political revolution where things just shift drastically, and the old way of doing things and people like the news agents and all these political pundits apologizing for the middle class is just done away with. I'm sick
and
of
there
it.
has to be accountability. There has to be accountability for your actions, for your words, because without that, our society, civilization, actually falls apart. Like our
Yeah.
human behavior is based upon the formula, if you like, of actions and consequences, and if and truth, and the importance of truth. And if we take those things away from human society, we're left with just an absolute wasteland. And that's where it seems we're heading. I know that's such a miserable
Okay,
way to end the episode.
let's
Sorry.
let's let's wrap up on the wasteland of humanity. Is there anything you want to say before we go, Josh? Anything you need people to know about?
No, not really. I mean, come along to the queer open mic at the Cock Tavern if we haven't all died in the nuclear holocaust by then. Come along on the 26th of April and join me. And what about you, Sean? I've got my BFS glass as a good segue to talk about that.
Oh, okay. So if the London Vegan Beer Fest is happening in September, there are some early bird tickets where you can save £10 if you buy an early bird ticket now. We're still waiting to announce lineup of like entertainment and food traders and breweries. But Josh, you can put a link for the early bird tickets down below, and it'd be great if somebody wants to come along to that. I mean, that's everything from me. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Please subscribe, leave comments. Give us a thumbs up, whatever you can do to help spread the word. And I suppose we'll see you next time.
Yes, and stay away from those Jewish space lasers. Bye, folks.
Jewish space lasers? Where did that come from?
Oh, that's a whole other episode. Bye, folks.
See you. Bye. Bye.